You're listening to Short Inspirations from Ralph. Leadership, Building Great Teams, Part 2. So in this series we've looked at the 3 C's. That's character, competence and chemistry. And with the help of some material from Erwin McManus, I want to dig deeper into the character issues. What sort of people are we going to invest in the future? What traits are we going to look for? There are at least 4 that are bedrock issues in investing in people and bringing them through into important roles on your team. They are humility, number 1, number 2, faithfulness, number 3, gratitude, number 4, fruitfulness. So firstly, when we look at humility, we find that actually leads to a life of integrity and then to courage. What do we mean by that? Well, some of the most courageous people that are recorded in Scripture were also the most humble people. And we have a look at Moses. He was unafraid to stand before leaders, unafraid to stand before Pharaoh for the sake of his people. And here's the catchphrase: courage is not the absence of fear, but the absence of self. What that means is, when you're living for a cause that is much greater than you, then you are unconcerned as to what really happens to you yourself, because the cause is much greater. John the Baptist was very humble, and so he was unafraid to oppose the people who were standing in the way of what God wanted to do. Jesus himself, the Scripture records, humbled himself. And so when we're looking at this incredible virtue of humility, we find it goes a huge way, because God resists the proud, it says in James, and gives grace to the humble. So if we live as arrogant or proud people, not even God can get through. It's a wee bit like trying to sail upwind with the spinnaker of your boat still up. And so look for humility in people. It's humble people that we can work with. We're not talking about people that have an inferiority complex or lack of self-worth. We are talking about genuinely humble people. And get this, God doesn't say to pray for humility. You can do that if you like. But in James it actually says to be humble. So to be humble is a choice. We live inside out, so to speak. Our lives are an open book, and this makes humility quite easy to detect in people that we're looking at bringing onto our teams. The second trait that we're looking for investing in people or bringing them onto our teams is faithfulness. Faithfulness leads to perseverance, and perseverance leads to wisdom. So when a person is faithful, even in the little things, they are trusted with more. Are they the sort of people that we can leave responsibility with? Are they the sort of people we can leave the keys to your church building with? You see, unfaithful people require the most supervision. We have to keep on checking on them to make sure they have done what they've been asked to do. But when they're faithful, we know that we can trust those people. So faithfulness not only leads to wisdom, but it leads to trust. James was talking to his fellow believers in James chapter 1 when he said this: when it seems as though you are facing nothing but difficulties, see it as an invaluable opportunity to experience the greatest joy that you can. For you know that when your faith is tested, it stirs up power within you to endure all things. That's perseverance. And then as your endurance grows even stronger, it will release perfection into every part of your being until there is nothing missing and nothing lacking. And if anyone longs to be wise, it says in verse 5, ask God for wisdom and he will give it. He won't see your lack of wisdom as an opportunity to scold you over your failures, but he will overwhelm your failures with his generous grace. And so wisdom is one of those things that come from faithfulness, but it's also one thing that we can ask God for. God bless you today.